Hi, my name is Duncan McLean. I am the Senior Lecturer in Design at the Sydney SAE campus. I'm here to talk to you today about what you might expect should you choose to study with us in design. All right, first a little bit of background. I am an educator with SAE, but prior to that, I also worked as an illustrator, graphic and motion designer, as well as dabbling in special effects for short film. Uh, my personal enjoyment and I guess drive for working with SAE comes from that challenge of finding new ways to blend other techniques to create some distinctly new art forms and helping students discover this for themselves, to find ways to engage their interests and what they know into creating new and exciting forms of work. Our program, our facilities and facilitators, they're all industry informed, and we do try to make sure that the teaching, this is not chalk and talk. This is not lecturers standing in front of a board spouting information with the expectation the students will understand it. Our goal here is that our lecturers, our facilitators, help students discover what they need to know and help guide them along the process to finding where their skills are, finding what their interests are, and finding how they best fit into an industry space. Based on that as well, our programs are regularly reviewed by industry professionals so we can make sure that what we are delivering lines up with expectations from employees, and our facilities are generally lined up with what a student might expect when walking into a real-world studio for the first time. All right. Now, hands-on and technical skills are a fantastic thing, but if they're not underpinned by a good sense of the theory, then what you're doing will lack the depth to communicate correctly to your audience. You need to be able to sell a message, and you can't do that by just making pretty pictures. Pretty pictures have to have some depth to them. So some of the things you'll cover when you study design with us is visual communication, semiotics, and those two topics are deeply related, interactive and motion design, which even though they have similarities, they overlap in the visual design components. They're very different in the way that you express content. Personas, user journey, and experience, which is an exciting new area and focuses on the study of user behavior and how to best deliver a product to a person that gives them the best result we can. We also look at photography, and there's a fair bit of drawing and general image making. In terms of software and tools, the full Adobe Creative Cloud suite comes into play. It's pretty much our bread and butter. You can't get away from it. So it's really something we spend a lot of time using. Outside of that, you will have the opportunity to use 3D software. Primarily, we're looking at Autodesk Maya and 3D Studio Max, but you can play with Maxon Cinema 4D or Blender should you choose. Outside of that, we also build some basic website and website prototypes. Dreamweaver is going to be the obvious choice as it's part of the Creative Cloud, but we also play with XD for prototyping tools. Hardware, we run a range of Macintosh and PC machines, so there's something for everyone. And we also work regularly with Wacom graphics tablets, scanners, iPads, and a range of printers. Beyond that, we also have a range of traditional materials available, so markers, pencils, and all the rest, grid, and a range of stock papers that you can play with to produce your work. In terms of the design programs, we have three main offerings that we go for, and all of these are fully accredited and internationally recognized. So our three main are the Bachelor degree of Design, the Associate degree of Design, and the Higher Education Diploma of Design. Now, these courses can be offered part or full-time depending on your needs, and we can adjust them as long as there's room in the timetable. Let me just run through what these look like so you understand how it works. First up, though, we do have a look of, this is the design program. Now, if we have a look on the left-hand side, you can see we have T1 through to T6. These are our trimesters. We run 3 terms or 3 trimesters every year. A full degree program, full-time, is 6 trimesters. Our course is broken up into 3 stages. So stage 1 is trimesters 1 and 2. Stage 2 is trimesters 3 and 4. And stage 3 is trimesters 5 and 6. And you can also see there that we have exit points for the diploma and the associate degree if you're not interested in doing the full degree program. So let's run through stage 1, otherwise known as the HE Diploma of Design. Now, stage one focuses on those fundamental technical skills that you need to operate as a designer. Now, this is fundamental technical skills, which is really important. So using the software and using it efficiently and correctly, which is important. But on top of that, we also focus on a lot of the theoretical skills. We focus on iterative design processes, design thinking, the steps you can take to make sure that your work is as effective and as targeted as possible. Generally speaking, in this stage, the projects run short, so a couple of weeks each project, and more often than not, they're individual. They're also fairly directed, so you'll be given a very specific brief to respond to. This changes a little bit when we get into the associate degree, which is stage 1 and 2, or stages 1 and 2. We move away from short projects and move towards longer projects. And also we start to work in groups, which is similar to how you would operate in a studio environment in the industry. So in the studio, which is stage 2 is really built around the studio projects. In the studio, you're often working on multiple projects at once. There is an increased responsibility in regards to your role in the project, and also an increased level of freedom. While you are still responding to a brief, you have far more control as to the form of the final output. Very regularly, you'll be working with other students across disciplines, and also other students within the same discipline, but at different stages in the degree. Very regularly too, once we hit studio, we'll also be dealing with live projects. That's real clients in the real world, and which means your work can actually see some actual exposure. Finally, we get to stage 3. So stage 1, 2, and 3 together is our full bachelor degree. Stage 3 is built around the major project modules, of which there are 2. Now, these 2 modules focus on the creation of a single group project. And this single group project is intended to be the best thing you make at your time with SAE. It is the capstone of your studies, and it is the flagship of the folio when you start to move towards industry. The major project modules are also very free, in the sense where in stage 1 you had a very controlled and restricted briefs. By the time we hit major project in stage 3, there are almost no controls. Obviously, the facilitators are still around to make sure that what you're doing is feasible and to offer technical help where needed, but the responsibility for getting that project off the ground and to completion is almost entirely on your shoulders. The other thing happening in this stage is we have a compulsory work placement program where our students finally get into the industry and show off what they can do. Now, it's all good and well to play in these bits of software, but one of the things we like to do most in design is to make stuff. And making things on a computer is no fun if you can't actually turn them into something real, something you can hold and touch and feel. It's important. So very regular things that we will make in design across many projects. Corporate stationery, it's a pretty standard one. It's bread and butter for a designer. That's going to be business cards, letterheads, email signatures, invoices, couple-page websites, yearly report booklets, all these sorts of little things. It might not be the most exciting work in the world, but it's actually quite satisfying when it finally comes off the printers and you have it in your hands. Beyond that, there'll be a lot of advertising materials, so posters, web banners, magazine ads, magazine spreads. We do also play with motion design, so you'll have the opportunity to make animated social media posts and animated ads. Occasionally, we'll make the odd game and app, and you'll make plenty of websites. Now, just to show you some of the projects that students have made in the past, have a look at these ones here. The first one, this is Superposition. Superposition was a very exciting project that we took on with a live client. The whole point of this was to create a virtual reality extension of a live exhibition. For this one, our design students worked with game students to come up with the app, which you can see in the lower right corner of screen at the moment. So it was a 3D VR app, allowing you to navigate a virtual gallery space. On top of that, there was also a website made. There was a booklet describing the event and a range of merchandise attached to that as well. So this was a really interesting, multidisciplinary, client-driven project with a range of real-world outcomes and made a fantastic folio piece. Collectiva is another one we run in Design Studio. This one runs every trimester, and every trimester is an interesting thing. This particular Collectiva, or CLTV version as they called it this time round, The point here is every design student submits an artwork responding to a given theme, and it's assembled into a website, into a book, into a video, whatever format best suits the theme. In this case, the theme was cyan, magenta, yellow, and black, so the key print colors. So all the work had to be done in that respect. A beautiful book was made, as well as a website and a range of other merch and bits of material to go with this. This is another interesting project, and again, cross-disciplinary with games and film this time. This was Conquest, which was sort of the spiritual successor to the original Mortal Kombat games of the mid-90s. For this game project, it was design students who built the art for the backgrounds in every fighting level. It was the design students who made the posters, as well as the character screens, who developed the typefaces, who developed all the interface arrangements, as well as clothing and other merchandise options. In fact, it was even design students who built the costumes for the characters to be filmed for the game. It was a really broad project, and it ran across multiple trimesters. So we had the same team of students working on this across almost a year, and the end result was actually a really fun game that you can download and play. Thank you very much for listening, guys. Hope to see you on campus.